Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Ball Games. We've got some spicy ones here. No names on the marquee. All right, so I believe this is Matt on Blue Red Delver versus Nat on Aluren. All right. I'm not sure how those names are missing. They're actually recorded during the tournament, so interesting. All right, double fetch into Baleful Strix. This is going to be actually a pretty big problem for Delver. If Matt has a daze here, he's going to find himself in good shape. Stop this from having any major impact. Otherwise, no matter how he handles it, it's going to cost him a card. So it does enter, draws a card for Nat, and actually expends a bolt to deal with it. I mean, it's going to have to be dealt with at some point. Blue Red Delver is going to need to turn things sideways. Dragon Rage Channeler shows up. And all basics here kind of denying the Wasteland, and then Birds of Paradise off of Shardless Agent, further embarrassing the mana denial plan. So Chain Lightning is going to get put into the bin. Instant Sorcery Artifact land. And Darcy turns sideways in the air. It has to right now. Matt winning the race. But Aluren not looking to play fair. It can actually go the distance if it needs to, but if you resolve an Aluren, you can actually wrap this whole thing up in an instant. Aggressive iteration. See that Steam Vents, of course, that's not a budget consideration. This deck is maxing out on 4 Volcanics and some copies of Steam Vent as well. All the islands. Lightning Bolt. Getting rid of Ice Fang. Continuing the tempo, but there's 2 speed bumps in the way there with Birds of Paradise. It is going to be difficult to actually deal that final damage. Oh, and this is going to make it harder. Uro is not the type of card you want to play against when you're on a tempo strategy. That 3 life actually matters quite a bit when your win condition is swinging for 3 at a time. Practically a time walk here. It's going to gain 3 life and draw a card and get an extra land drop. Of course, once Uro escapes from the graveyard, he'll be a massive win condition as well. The card that isn't seeing as much play as it previously was. I mean, people were actually talking about potentially banning the card. Really didn't see nearly enough play to justify that at this point. But nonetheless, it's going to be very, very strong versus Blue Red Delver. One of the absolute best decks in the format. And Ice Fang. Oh, look at this play. So Ice Fang flashed in. Matt sacrificing Wasteland to take out the fetch land. Matt sacks it in response, and that's the window for days to actually stop this Ice Fang. That fetch is going to resolve. Now, your opponent can fail to find. Not a good sport. Actually gets the land. But it is actually possible in those type of interactions. I've certainly seen those where somebody gets absolutely wrecked by a daze and just actually forgets to find the land off of the fetch as well. Murktide. Yeah, you would definitely still need to shuffle your library, though. That is interesting. It's not a May effect. It's likely you can't actually let your opponent forget the search there, even though they can fail to find. I mean, I've certainly seen it quite a lot back in the day. Much less friendly game back then. 9 points of life, a big ol' Murktide, and a Dragon Rage. Players using their graveyard to enable ridiculous threats. Uro on that side, Murktide on the other. And Force of Will. Gonna try and slow down this Uro for a turn. And it looks like Nat's got a little decision to make here. He may have Force be able to pitch back. He's just going to jam an Ice Fang and be fine with it. So he could have possibly drawn into Force. He does have an Ice Fang on board. That could really pump the brakes here. Aggressive Iteration finds a Ponder. Matt actually puts a Murktide into the bin. Interesting. That is a little surprising. Murktide feels it might be good enough to just kind of continue on this game plan. Of course, Matt has played a bunch of Aluren, so he may just be respecting the fact that if he passes the turn without any counter magic left, he could just die. Murktide could represent lethal even despite the life gain. Gonna daze Uro. And Ponder. I'm not actually sure what the purpose of that daze is. Baleful Strix coming in. Get another Death Touch flying blocker. Yeah, let me know in the comments what possible reason to daze there. Can't actually see any. First time watching footage here. I just kind of click through and get the pictures of cards that are useful. About anyone new to the format. Murktide has 3 things to get through. And we're also on a 2-turn clock. All right, so this second Murktide shows up. Gonna grow the first one. Regardless Agent cascades past an Aluren, which would possibly just end the game on the spot instead. Birds of Paradise. Main deck Carpet of Flowers with Aluren. Really help casting of Aluren. Logic there. I mean, if Red Blast is good enough to main deck and Blue-Red Delver, deck some hate of our own. And Grist takes out that fat Murktide, leaving just a 6/6 behind. Not looking to trade with Uro, as he would not stay in the graveyard very long anyways. And Grist, just a tremendous planeswalker, especially in a deck like Aluren. Creature, and you can cast it for free under Aluren. Here is Cavern Harpy. And passing the turn. Back at 16 life. I mean, this is basically over. And actually scooping it up there. Yeah, that's really, really tough. The life gain from Uro, the repeated value from all of those cantrips. I mean, that just really outvalued Blue-Red Delver. Delver, of course, got a great value engine and expressive iteration, but every card in the deck that we saw there, and Baleful Strix, Shardless Agent, Uro, Ice Fang, Grist, all just straight up hard advantage. Mana base looked really rock solid. Bunch of basics and those Birds of Paradise, smoothing out the mana. This is probably a really tough matchup for Blue-Red Delver. I would definitely rather be on the Aluren side of the table. Yeah. Inclination to play combo when possible. I mean, people often misplay against it, I'm not going to lie. When you can just kill people out of nowhere, it does really change the way that people prioritize their decisions. Big to find counter magic. Instead of setting a clock, get buried by card advantage. I mean, there's so many ways it can go wrong. And look at the advantage here. Just a carpet of flowers into Birds of Paradise. Just beautiful acceleration. Of course, that carpet played main phase 1, go to main phase 2, add a green, cast a bird, and that could actually just be casting an Aluren on turn 2 quite easily. Have enough mana for that. Might even have enough mana to get around a daze if Matt commits another island, which he does. Adding mana from carpet and using birds for a pair of Baleful Strix. Wow. At this point, if we're looking for an interesting game, I guess we're rooting for Matt. Have End the Festivities. Don't know that he'd actually be sleeving that card up. It's certainly within the range of reasonable sideboard cards for Blue-Red Delver. Haven't taken a look at what's considered to be stock at this point. I tend to not be very impressed with the concept of stock list. It's often tuned to the online meta, which is very different than in person for a variety of reasons, including the clock and just the misery of playing Magic online when you have a deck that requires a ton of clicks. For example, Aluren, not a deck that you're really going to enjoy playing in Magic Online, as you're going to have to cast your Cavern Harpy, return your Baleful Strix, cast it. Just there's so many clicks. Good way of shortcutting. Shardless Agent cascading into a Ice Fang Codal. That one gets Pyroblasted at least. So no extra draw off of that, but like an actual beatdown board here. That would win the race if he started turning stuff sideways. Wild. Aggressive iteration. So much mana. Not even sure what the right thing to do is in this situation. I mean, Blue-Red Delver really can't do much about Carpet of Flowers at all. Playing Cephalid Breakfast. I do have Cavern of Souls, Fetch Lands, Basic Plains. There are ways that you can kind of have your mana base grow without giving your opponent just repeatable Black Lotus effects. The sheer mana advantage alone may very well be enough. And that Uro with blue goes to the graveyard. practically able to flash him back, or, sorry, escape him with the amount of mana available here. Ooh, here we go. Surgical Extraction. I'll look to get rid of Uro. That is not good news. Oof. A pair of Ice Fangs in hand. I mean, this does set up for like the most epic End the Festivities ever. 2 Ice Fangs, 2 Baleful Strixes, 2 Birds of Paradise. That would be absolutely jaw-dropping. But as it is, Nat ahead on life and ahead on board. Additional... Oh my gosh, he actually runs it. That's crazy. Oh no. Wow. I didn't even notice if he took the point of damage. So we've got an Ice Fang. And... looked like there was a Daze in there. I'm not sure why, but there was a Red Elemental Blast to take it out after. Oh, Daze was to pick up the Mystic Sanctuary. Okay. Now we're talking. Maybe that's what I missed in game 1. There was a Mystic Sanctuary that got picked up. All right. Let me know in the comments. So we got a Murktide on board. And it's kind of anybody's game now. Delver actually doing what it needs to do, but it's going to have a couple of Ice Fangs to contend with. Leovold. Well, that's a big problem card, not going to lie. I mean, it can be handled, not well, but it can be handled by Bolt and Chain Lightning. Ice Fang joins the fun as well. Lightning bolts. What are we targeting? Leovold getting him out of there. Oh, and another bolt. Fang coming down. I believe this is the second Ice Fang. Yeah, just a Boseiju left in hand. So that trades with a Murktide, but 3 damage comes through on the Delver. Don't actually... That's interesting. Let me know how you would play that. I actually think I just swing with Delver there. I'm pretty sure the Delver is just going to get through. And if he blocks and kills the Delver, then Murktide's free to start going on a rampage. But the most likely scenario is they just keep taking 3 a turn from the Delver, kind of perpetually keeping your Murktide back. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that seems to be the most likely scenario. I feel like either one of those is preferable to just losing the Murktide. Oh, Endurance. That is going to ruin things. And it's a main phase Endurance, so no surprise block. He is a big boy, a 3/4. Not going to be able to burn him out very easily. It's going to end up being a 2-for-1, either a pair of burn spells or, yeah, trading. So trading that Bolt and the Delver to clear the Endurance. And Nat still has a pair of 2/2s left behind. So this has been a real grind, back and forth, epic plays. But as the dust settles here, Nat has a much larger mana base and a pair of 2/2s. Just a 3-turn clock versus an empty board. I don't know that Aluren has any extra reach in it. There's a Grist, and that's going to do it. Even if Matt tries to stabilize with a creature, Grist is going to be able to take it out as Aluren wins a very entertaining match.